Hi guys, welcome to our podcast.
3 P's in a podcast.
I'm Chelsea.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Ashley, and here we go.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back.
We are back with another true crime case today. Today we're going to be talking about Gannon Stauch. Okay, so I'll just get right into it. So Gannon was born September 29th of 2008. He was 11 years old when he went missing. He lived at home with his dad, Al, his stepmother, Letitia, and his younger sister, Lena, and his stepsister, Harley, in Colorado Springs, Colorado. His mom, Landon, she lives in South Carolina with his younger sister there, but he lived with his dad and his stepmom and everybody.
Does it go off maybe why he lived?
So I've seen, like, Letitia, during this whole investigation, she was all over Facebook talking about things and accusing Landon of being a drug addict and things, but I've also seen things that when she was pregnant with his little sibling, she had like a lot of medical issues, and that's when the dad got full custody. But there may have been some drug things in there too. Yeah.
Yep.
He was a preemie. He was under 2 pounds, and I always say I feel so connected to this case because my little boy reminds me so much of Gannon. He was a preemie, and they both are like into like Sonic and video games, and it just really has kept me like focused on this case ever since I heard about it. So we'll just start with the timeline. So on January 27th, 2020, his stepmom, Letitia, she goes by T a lot, so I have a lot of times in here I'll call her T. Okay. She reported her 11-year-old stepson missing. She said that he went outside to play with a friend around 3:15 and never returned. At this time, his dad was in the military, so his dad was out of town for like training and stuff. Like he went out of state and everything. So Letitia claims that he didn't go to school that day because of a tummy ache, and which I know he had a lot of like stomach issues. Like he would like go number 2 in his pants randomly. Like he just had a lot of stomach issues.
So he missed school that day, but then she recorded him missing with a friend?
Exactly. A lot of people are like, why was he allowed to go with a friend if he stayed home from school that day?
Okay,
and this was a Monday too.
I was like, wait a minute.
It's weird, yeah. I mean, you'll come to find out she changes the story a million times.
Okay.
As soon as something starts to look like there's no way that could have happened, she changes it to a different story.
Okay.
So initially he was classified as a runaway, and the last search on his phone that was at the house was, can my parents find me if my phone is off?
Oh, okay.
I put in here that his father's in the military, he's doing training. Gannon's mother immediately got on a plane to Colorado when he was reported missing. And then also his dad flew back to Colorado too.
Right. Okay.
So once police started going through surveillance cameras and everything, they found a ring footage from a neighbor. And this was like leaked all over the internet too. So everybody from the beginning was getting this information about her that was showing that she was lying. So everybody from the beginning was like, this is sketchy. Yeah. She, the footage from the neighbor showed that Gannon did not leave with any friends that day, but it does show him getting into their truck with Letitia around 10:15 that morning. Okay. And then, so Letitia goes out to the truck in this video that's parked on the street. She backs it into the driveway. And then those two, it's really grainy. It's from far away. They walk out together, and you can see that he kind of looks like he dropped something, but he just stands there. Like he doesn't even reach down to get it. And then she comes up, picks it up, whatever it is, and they both get into the truck. He's sitting right behind her in the truck.
So is he like physically walking, or is she like helping
He
him?
walks, but a lot of people have talked about how he's walking really slow. Like he stops and just stands there when he drops that thing. I guess. Okay, so there was the footage of him walking out. Okay. So the neighbor claims that when he showed Al, the dad, the footage, Al broke down crying and said he knew it. He knew she was lying. So obviously any parent would get that feeling from the beginning when they're changing their stories and being sketchy about it. Yeah. So Letitia claimed they went to Petco that morning. Gannon didn't feel good, so he stayed in the truck, and an employee says she was acting really weird, kept walking over and looking out the window. She bought 3 pet coats, and then she also went back to Petco around 1 o'clock. And this Petco that she went to, there was closer ones to her. She drove farther than she needed to.
So weird.
All these, and I remember learning about these details little by little as I was following this case. And I remember being like, there's something up that way. Like, she wanted to go far away or drive around with him for some reason.
Yeah.
So she claims that they got back home around 2:20 and Gannon was with her, but you can't see him in the footage. When they return, if he gets out on the other side or whatever, you don't see him get out or anything. Letitia's story has changed many times. She at first said that she was working out and Gannon wanted to go play with a friend, and that was the last time she saw him. So I have like a little section where I kind of want to go over all her story changes, but there's like so many to try to keep up on. But so T said that her and Gannon were working in the garage on Saturday. So he went missing Monday. She claims on Saturday they were working in the garage and he cut his foot and it was bleeding. So she put him up on the trunk of her car and was like bandaging up his foot.
So did they find blood or something on her car?
They did. In the garage and on the back of her car.
So this is why she came up with this story.
Yes. All her stories you'll see. She doesn't say anything unless
it is found out. Yeah.
Yes. She also says, which this is a fact, that they went hiking on Sunday at Garden of the Gods. It's like a big mountain there in Colorado. And there are pictures from this. And I do have a picture that we can insert in there too. I'll show you guys. This is her and Gannon and the little sister at Garden of the Gods on Sunday. Look at him.
Oh, so sweet.
It breaks my heart. He reminds me of my Ben so much. On Sunday night, T texted Al and says, "Don't freak out, but Gannon dropped a candle in the basement and burnt some carpet." The carpet story becomes a huge part of this case. Like, whatever happened in that basement is a huge part in this.
Yeah, because, like, did she pull up the carpet or something?
She did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
She claims at first that Gannon burned the carpet so bad that she had to cut a piece out of the carpet, and Gannon was so upset about this. And this is when she herself releases this tape, which is a huge part of this trial too. They play it in the opening statements of the trial and everything is a huge part. She released this tape on Facebook, I think thinking that it would make her look better.
I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, you promise. He promised.
On purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, alright, so, listen. We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So, we figure out what we gotta sell. We can sell the sofa. We can sell whatever, because we gotta get it.
That was really weird because why, he burned the carpet, but why decide to pick your phone up like that and start recording?
Right. I think she thought it was going to prove. I think at this point, she had hurt him very bad. I think she maybe hit him with something.
Yeah.
And I think he was very injured in that clip. And I think this is her trying to prove that he's alive, prove that, like, she's, like, trying to blame this on an incident with a carpet or something. Like, she's very...
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. Like,
it's so weird.
And then to turn around and also be like, we're going to have to start selling stuff. We're going to have to sell the sofa and, like, da-da-da-da. And it's like...
Yeah.
Because we're going to get kicked out.
Yeah. Like, what? Yeah, the whole...
And he's just like, I pinky promise.
My daughter has
the most disgusting stain on her carpet right now. That, you know what I mean? That we're a renter and things like that. And yeah, of course, I'm like, Palin, you made a mess. You cannot do that, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not like, Pinky, let's record you. You pinky promise you did not do... I don't know. It's just weird.
It definitely, like you said, it felt like either something had already happened or she was planning on something to happen.
His groans in the background of the sound, he's hurt. Like, I don't know. He just sounds so so hurt.
Yeah, like there's just some little groans. That's not just scared groan. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, he's like, like when you're hurt, you're like, oh
yes,
my gosh. Like, that's what it sounds like in the
that's what it
background.
sounds like.
So sad.
So
she released that herself, thinking that, like, look, he was alive Sunday night. What are you guys talking about? Like, he was alive. Like, this does not make you look good.
It's one of those things, like, or I'll see parents do that. Like, they'll record, like, them disciplining their kids. I'm like, I just don't feel like that is something that you do. Or, like, it just, I don't know.
Why do you want your crying kid on the internet?
Yes. Yeah. And, like...
my daughter's becoming a teenager that I'm like, stop recording yourself crying on the internet. Because regardless, it's just not something I've ever wanted. Like, I don't want... They're like, I don't know.
If she recorded to send it to Al originally, like she wanted to send it to him, like yeah, see, like, he's admitting that it was his fault.
That's the only thing I can think of is like, maybe I would record something. So now speaking as a stepmom, you know what I mean? Because I am a stepmom and I do have a special needs little boy. And that's the only thing I could think of is like, maybe there's sometimes like, I don't know what I'm doing or what I should do. So I'm recording and just so I can send it to my husband and he'd be like, hey, try this, or hey, or he'll call him sometimes and be like, hey, bud, I'm going to be home soon. Like, let's calm down and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I don't know, but it
It doesn't. Like, I do agree. Because
even if you're like, I don't know what to do, so I'm recording this, but she was actively parenting.
Yes.
She was actively, like,
I
engaging
do.
with it. Like,
I do agree. Like, obviously what she is, like, I know I have done things like that, but I don't know. Hers is very different, and it does come across very differently.
Yeah, I think that clip, every time I've ever listened to it, gives me this sick feeling in my stomach and sadness that doesn't feel like just discipline. It feels like he is hurt and something is wrong.
Yes.
So she texted Al about the burnt carpet. She claims at first that Gannon burned the carpet so bad that she had to cut a piece of carpet. I already talked about this. I put play tape. Gannon. Okay, I also put, you can't really burn a carpet with a candle, which I've seen so many people talk about. If a candle's sitting up here and it knocks over, the flame will go out. You might get wax all over your carpet.
That
but
is
it's
true.
not. She claims later on that a whole fire started. Flames everywhere.
I mean,
I think it's possible.
How about to say, is it likely? No, not at all. Could that have happened? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I know I've seen multiple candles drop with the flames, and you're right. Like after the wax or whatever, the wind or whatever, that little flame goes out. But like I said, I've seen crazier freak accidents happen.
Yeah. So, and she didn't really start changing her stories and adding all these details until after police started searching out. So she knows what they're going to find as they're searching, and she adds in these details.
Right.
There's a lot of past, like, family issues and jealousy. It sounds like Al left Landon, which is Gannon's mom, for T. Like, it sounds like they were still married. He met T, divorced, got with T.
Gotcha.
T claims that Landon's a horrible mom. She's had issues with Landon. She had an issue with Landon coming when Gannon was missing and staying in their house.
Oh my gosh.
To the point where she went and stayed at a hotel and was so mad that her husband was staying in a house with his son's mom.
See, like that right there screams. Well, I get that it's like there's some jealousy and things like that, but like for me, and I know that not everyone has this relationship that I have with my son's biological mom, but for me, if our son came missing, she would definitely like, and she lived far away. Like we live 5 minutes away. She's going to stay at her house. I'm going to stay at my house. But if she lived far away and needed to come, she'd be staying at my house because she's going to be. I need to give her as much support and guidance as I can, but I need that from her too. Like
even let's flash back like when you and Lindsay were first getting to know each other and you guys' relationship wasn't what it was today. I feel like you'd be the same way.
I would be the same way.
Like
I absolutely would have been. Lindsay, when we did not get along, like for an example, my car went up in flames.
Yeah.
We did not get along. We were not on the best terms, but she was the first person at my house after my car went up in flames because I had posted that I need car seats now. My car seats were melted and awful. And she was the first person at my house with car seats. Like, here you go. Here's for both kids, not just her son, but my daughter too. And, you know what I mean? We were growing.
It's kind of one of those things when crises happen, everything else falls away.
Matter.
Yeah, like this is the crisis. Something's happening.
Exactly.
I think her issues come into play. The fact that she's a narcissist.
Yes.
She thinks everything has to be about her, and you'll see this more all the time. Everything has to be about her. And that she felt that her husband and everybody else wasn't believing her stories. So she sees her husband now with the kid's mom, and she's over there like, what are they talking about? They don't believe me. Like,
It just
and knowing
screams.
that she did it, like,
that really just screams like guilty because it would never be about me in that moment.
Yeah. So she made all these Facebook posts at this time about Landon and about the neighbors selling their footage for money, about Facebook detectives wasting the police time. Like, she was all over Facebook at this time while her stepson's missing.
Wow.
Now, this is also a huge part of this case. She does this interview with a news reporter. It's the weirdest interview I've ever seen.
I'm Tisha Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
Reasons like death threats, right?
Right. Death threats are one of them. My family's getting lots of death threats. We counted over 20-some death threats already. Two, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't. And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, you know, and in doing the investigation I was told I wasn't complying. And can I elaborate on that?
Please do.
Yes. So I asked for an attorney during the interview, and I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave, and that if I would have touched them, they would have probably, you know, said I still wasn't complying or said I was, you know, trying to run away or something. But during the interview, I asked several times, could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? Could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? I was denied. I was told I couldn't get nothing to drink. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was continuously that my constitutional rights were violated.
And that's why you say that they said then you weren't cooperating with the investigation.
That's why they said I wasn't cooperating at that time, correct.
And why did you ask for an attorney at the time?
Well, I asked for an attorney at the time because there was one individual, there was two really good detectives, and so I'm not, you know, going to talk bad about detectives, but the tactics they started to get when I would answer questions, they try to, you know, they're detectives, they're supposed to twist, the one main goal is to find Gannon. But during that time, some of those things made me feel uncomfortable the way they were saying things, so I immediately stopped and felt like an attorney would help me with some of the vocabulary and things like that I needed help with and understanding some of the things that they were asking.
I'm going to shift gears to what has become a huge online presence of people obviously trying to do the right thing, help find Gannon. But at the same time, sometimes it just feels like rumor mongering. Have you seen any of those comments yourself?
We have. And see, that's one of the main things we haven't been around in the public eye because I didn't want to expose my family to it if all these things were going on. You know, there was comments about Gannon getting pushed off the hike, and there was comments about this, and that's just not true. I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home because his mother didn't want to do it. And I would never, ever hurt this child. And I know there's some questions out there about, okay, so tell me what happens. That's up to the investigations when they end up letting you guys know, but I've cooperated with them.
How does it feel when not only you have a lost child who you are in care of, but then people blaming you for that child not being there?
You know, I'm just ready for Gannon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. But second, I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Gannon. And I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
Can you talk to me a little bit about him? I don't know him.
Gannon is so kind, and he loves to play video games. That's one of his favorite things. He loves Sonic and Mario, and you know, he's always helpful, and he was always so helpful with the dogs around the house, and we have 2 little cute dogs, and he was always like a person I could say, Gannon, can you go do this? And he would do it right away. You know, sometimes with kids we have to remind them and things like that, and that's okay, but he was so sweet and able to help anyone. He could notice when you're sick and say, are you okay? And such a kind heart.
I know you just said that you can't say anything about the investigation, so you can just say so again if you can't answer this, but is there anything we can hear about the hike? Was there a hike? That just seems like rumors right now.
You know what? Could we bring my daughter up here? Because she can go and say that, you know, she came home from work after the hike, and she can verify that Gannon was at our home.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me. And if she doesn't want to, that's okay, but you're allowed to ask her. Sound okay so far?
Yes. I need Harley. Because they want you to verify was Gannon at home after the hike. Because you didn't go to the hike, but you came home from work.
Do you want me to just say yes?
No, just answer the question. Yes, you came home from work, and you can verify Gannon was at home. Yeah. I told her she didn't have to be too in-depth because she is still, you know, a child, but I want to make sure that someone knows that there's another person to verify that Gannon.
Sure.
Does she need to hold this?
No.
Yes, so I came home later that evening. I was at work, and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Oh, yes. Okay. I guess when
And then we ate Burger King afterwards, so, you know.
there you go.
Yeah.
Is going to help kind of turn the tide of what feels like a witch hunt, in my opinion.
I hope. Am I on camera now?
You are still.
Okay. I think that a lot of people can see that I'm not missing and see that I am being cooperative, but to me, it's okay that they think those things, because the way someone thinks about me, I don't have a problem with that. My main thing is I would never want someone to think that I would hurt Gannon or any of the children in our home, because that's just not the case. I've spent my whole entire life working so hard in education. There was even things online that was talking about my education license and I shouldn't even be a teacher, and they just didn't know that. Like, we moved on a military move, and I didn't finish out my contract, so I gave up my license in that state. It had nothing to do with any criminal activity, or any of those things, and it just got blown out of proportion on my professional status, and
Do you feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing?
it definitely is. And here's the thing that kind of saddens me. It's like, if you're going to talk about someone like that and have a witch hunt out for them, why would you even care, about doing those things? Because this is a child. You're telling me that you're just as mean, you're just as hateful to talk about someone else like that. That's how I feel. We just should not. We should all come together and wait until the end and see what happens, because Gannon's going to come home.
Any message for Gannon?
The message for Gannon I have is, Gannon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things, especially from my husband. We just wanted to add a message to Gannon from my family, is that we love you and miss you, and we hope that you come home soon. And Gannon, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
That was wild.
Isn't
That
it
is
wild?
so crazy.
So already with the truck and that footage from the neighbor was already giving me Chris Watts vibes.
Mm-hmm.
But then that interview, I was like, I thought Chris Watts' interview was ridiculous and couldn't believe he was acting like that. But
Her interview tops it a little bit.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
She's so narcissistic, and like you said, she started halfway through. They're like, describe her, and it's like, describe him. It's like, that's all you could give us. And then you started using past tense halfway through it.
To start out, she never is pleading you mean my child's missing, I need to do an interview. It's pleading to the public.
I would say he's this tall.
He's this tall.
Brown eyes,
yes, he was
brown
last
hair.
seen here. Help me find him, please.
Yes.
Let's look here. I'm doing a big organization this day. She didn't do any of that.
She talked about herself.
It was herself. Everyone's just blaming me. Mm-hmm. I can't wait till he's home and I can show everybody I was telling the truth.
I can't wait to get an apology, especially from my husband.
Girl, get it together.
And then the fake tears at the end.
The fake tears.
To top it all off.
Yeah, I know we were talking about it
sprinkle on top
when we were watching it, but that interviewer, he had to.
Yeah.
Gosh, he
knew
got
what
lucky.
He was just sitting there on his phone.
Yeah.
He probably was going crazy inside. I am getting the best footage of this girl.
Yeah, and then to pull the sister in it, and before you pull the sister in, let's make sure that we have our story straight before you,
The daughter's like, what do I say? She
Yeah.
just tell them that
And that's
Gannon was
all she
home.
gets up there and says, so rehearsed.
Almost scripted from
Yes,
her mom,
yeah, we went camping and then we came home. Well, we went to Burger King.
Yeah, it's very. I don't know, when you get interviews and they're adding so many details in, that's when I almost feel like, okay, this is rehearsed.
Yes.
And when you are so distraught and you're trying to remember your story, I believe you may get a little messed up because.
Okay. Oh yeah, that we did go to Burger King.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't add that. I don't know.
It's. Yeah. It's rehearsed. It was to make sure our time of events add up and are perfect, and
it was one of the most weirdest interviews I've ever seen.
And she made sure to have her back to the camera.
Yes, I don't see her face.
Yep.
What you got to hide?
Yep. So a couple weeks go by, nothing. Everybody's searching, and then the arrest affidavit was leaked to the press. So before she was arrested, this affidavit was released, and we got so much information on what the police knew at this point. I think it was a paralegal in the law office that leaked it. So
Okay.
I think she got fired and doesn't have a job anymore. So this affidavit was written 2 weeks before his body was found. But it wasn't leaked until after his body was found.
Okay.
So from the point of view of the affidavit, they obviously don't know anything about his body at this point.
Yeah.
The charges were murder just based on the evidence with no body. It was leaked with some of it redacted. I'm just going to go over some things that we found out from this affidavit. We found out that she was employed as a teacher. We found out, she's a teacher. She hadn't even had her first day. I think she started, I'm assuming, halfway through the year.
Oh,
this is
okay,
January
thank goodness. So she was not around other children.
No.
Thank
she
God.
had been a teacher before.
Oh, she had?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's sickening.
Yep. It also revealed that she retained a rental car right when her husband gets into town, which, like, why do you need to get a rental car? She claims that she didn't want to put miles, because it was like a lease, her car was like a leased car. She didn't want to put those extra miles driving away on her lease. She would rather put them onto a rental car. I'm not sure.
That doesn't make any sense.
Rental cars are more expensive.
Come up with a better life than that.
Her phone was also disconnected from phone service for a period of time after she picked up her husband. Yes. The affidavit says that the police believe Gannon was killed by his stepmother in the early mornings on Monday in his house, in his bedroom specifically. They claim that there's enough blood splatter and pools of blood on his bed, soaked through the mattress and carpet, and even stain the concrete, that they know that he died in that room.
And she's still just claiming this is a cut on his foot.
Mm-hmm. Well, she also claims, I have it somewhere down here, that she texted Al and said, or on the phone call with Al at some point, she says that he was picking at the burn on his arm. He got a burn from this, and he was wiping the blood on the walls.
Oh my God.
Oh, but
blood splatter and soaking through to the concrete.
But they know, like, there's enough blood in these areas that the police know this kid is dead.
I'm assuming she thinks she cleaned it up good enough, and that's why she's not trying to come up with a reason for that. She's trying to think, if they found a little bit of blood, I can make up a reason.
I bet you're right, because they said on the concrete. So pulling, I get her.
They also took off an outlet cover, and there's blood perfectly square. Like, she didn't even take it off to clean behind the outlet cover. It had been all over that wall.
She's an idiot.
Good thing she's an idiot. There are also pictures of his room in the affidavit, pictures of the light switch cover, pictures of the carpet pulled back with the stain on the concrete.
That is so much blood.
It's a lot. To
make a perfect outline on the outlet like that. Like, she had to clean all that up.
Yeah. They're saying that they are assuming that his remains were likely loaded from his bedroom up the his bedroom was in the basement. It was a finished basement. So up the stairs and into the garage, where it was likely loaded into Letitia's car, because there was drips of blood up the stairs the whole path of the way to the garage. Also, they did find blood and rolled up carpet in a utility room right next to his room. So maybe she put his body in there and then moved it out. I'm not sure, but it's likely that she cleaned up the best she could and left their remains there in the trunk of her car the day that she reported him missing. So when the police were searching around initially, he was probably in the trunk of her car, because she never drove that car out, but it had all this blood in it.
She had to be panicking.
She had to have been. But then the day that she gets her rental car, which is the 28th, that Tuesday, she goes to the airport to pick up Gannon's dad, and that's when she gets the rental car at the airport. She leaves her car there, probably with his body in the trunk at the airport this whole time. Gets this rental car and goes from there.
That's just so sad. Like,
yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, her trunk, the garage floor, and there was also a piece of particle board that they found on the side of the road up by that Petco with his blood on it. So I'm assuming she uses that to lift him, to move him. I'm not sure. But they found this particle board with his blood on it. So, yeah. After she probably goes and gets her car at some point, drives up there by that Petco and drops him off somewhere for the time being. Because she moves his body across states later.
Right.
T was also texting Al, called the school that she worked at, and called Gannon's school that morning to say that he won't be at school because of stomach issues. And there also is a picture of Gannon laying in his bed Monday morning. A lot of people speculate that he may be very injured or dead at this point. She sends a picture to Al, like, he's in bed, he doesn't feel good, he's missing school today. Yeah.
So do we ever get, like, I know you're probably coming up to it, but is there ever, like, an actual, like, time and events of, like, we're for sure he probably passed away this day, and, like...
Not really, because she never admits to it.
Okay.
So it's just their best guess.
Yes.
They actually do think that he did come back in the truck. When she pulled back in, we don't see him get out.
Yeah.
They say there's no way with all that blood they found, there's no way he wasn't killed in his room.
Yeah.
So they think that
He was
maybe the head
urgent.
and... You'll come to find out, I'll just go ahead and say it. He was shot, stabbed, and blunt force trauma.
It's an overkill.
It's an overkill.
Yeah.
I think the blunt force trauma was first. I think that's where that recording is.
Yeah,
taken.
like,
I think he had already hurt his head very bad, and she knew she had to do something after
Why
that.
he had to miss school.
Why he was slowly walking out to the car. I think she drove him around
and
thinking he might die while she's out and about.
Yeah.
And, like, just trying to drive around.
It makes sense, like, he's in the car and she's checking.
Yes.
Because she doesn't care about him.
No, she just wants to make sure no one approaches him or he doesn't get out of the
Make
car.
sure he doesn't die and someone sees him die.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, also, you're not supposed to leave your kid in the car, so there's also the possibility of someone seeing a kid in the car and, like, calling the cops because the kid was left in the car.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think after he didn't die from driving around, she comes back to the house with him and kills him that day.
Okay.
Her Google searches are wild. I did insert a photo here of her Google searches. So, starting on the 25th, so that would have been Saturday, she's like, find real military singles. Parenting should be 4 people, not 1. I'm overdoing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help. Mom advice from stepmom. If you aren't involved in your kid's life, you are shitty.
That's a heck of a Google search.
My husband's ex-wife does nothing for her kids. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a card since I raise her kids. And then she corrects it. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a Valentine's Day card since I raise her kids. One day, some people will wish they treated me differently.
This almost feels like she was typing it out in case someone saw her Google. Like,
I don't know.
Who
I think
Googles
she's just
this
trying
stuff?
to find other people talking about this or finding little memes.
Yeah, I
think she's
guess.
just trying to find
Yeah.
something to validate how she's feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is so weird.
Why should my husband choose me over family? He shouldn't. Shouldn't choose you over his kids. Find me a rich guy who wants to take care of his kids. It's crappy. Some parents don't care for their kids or buy them presents. Now, this is Sunday, the next day. Parents are those who puts their kids first. My son burned the carpet. How do I fix it? This is on the 27th, 12 o'clock in the morning. So this is early Monday morning. Will humidifier help if exposed to smoke? Smoke effects will humidifier help. Colorado law for kids staying at home. School is out. Is it okay for my kid to stay home alone? Like, she's Googling all this after he's injured. Son is sick, but I have to go to work. Suede repair for couch. El Paso Sheriff's Office number. What is the process for a runaway child? Now, this is the next day. So this is after she already reported him missing. Police steps for a runaway. Police steps for a missing child. Today's flights from Oklahoma to Colorado City. Can Nintendo find my Switch? They are asking for our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong.
All right. So that was her Google searches. That's where we're going to start.
Yeah, that just, it's so weird. It almost, like, the way that she Googles it, it's like she's smart enough to know it's going to be looked at by police, but she's also, like, there's certain things in there that, like,
screams narcissism.
Yes.
She just, it does paint a clear picture of who she is.
Yes.
While it's not showing what she has done because she's smart enough to know not to Google those things, it's screaming, what about me? What about me? What about me? How can I make these pretty little memes so I can post them on social media? You know?
And then
It's weird.
Like, to have the whole, like, looking up, like, the fire and stuff, that does make me believe that, like, maybe there was some kind of fire in the basement. That's the only, but at the same time, like, maybe, like, there was a fire and she overreacted and she hit him then, and then that's when it all kind of started to, like...
Especially bringing in the humidifiers for the smoke, make it even more plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of people theorize that maybe the fire was to cover up the blood in the first place.
That makes sense.
Of course, and that makes sense too.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's so sad because the only person alive that knows all this is her.
Yeah. Now, we said the teenager, obviously, like, the little girl comes home and she sends her out to play, and then the teenager comes home. The teenager didn't witness her mom acting, like, absolutely psycho and cleaning the house.
So later, Harley does testify. It's heartbreaking. And she talks about the hold that her mom has had on her. Like, her mom, you can tell, is very manipulative.
Yeah.
I think she's scared of her mom.
Okay.
And
yeah, you can tell how manipulative she is just from that video that she posted or made for her and Gannon. Like, we're going to sell stuff. We're going to have to, you know what I mean? We're going to get kicked out. Like, that is so manipulative to an 11-year-old little boy.
And imagine what Harley has experienced her entire life. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, she had, when Harley went to get these cleaning supplies, all she sent Harley was a text, like a list of the cleaning supplies. So she probably did have a conversation with her, like, I need you to go get these things. I'll text you the list. Just go. And Harley just doesn't fight. Yeah. I think when she testifies later, she does say, like, I didn't question my mom. Like, I just never question anything.
How would you question that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't think in a million years.
Exactly. I'm about to say, if I told my daughter's not able to drive or anything like that yet, but she's going to be one day, and I could so say, hey, go grab this from the store for me.
And you just be like, just go. Stop asking questions.
Yeah. Like, it's like, obviously, it's just clean. I'm cleaning. Go.
Yeah. Like, I guess that more of like what I get that, but it's more of like what the daughter had to come home eventually.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. That's just,
I know.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think she just, you know, I mean,
like,
I think while her daughter was
in the back of
gone,
her head, and she just could never thought in a million years.
She just maybe just told her, like, don't come up here. Like, Gannon's room's so disgusting, and I'm getting it really clean. Like, and what teenage girl wants to go help their mom clean? So she probably is not going in there.
And Harley's room was upstairs, so she had no reason to go in the basement.
Yep. Yeah. Or downstairs. Yes. Yeah. I forget. Gannon's room's downstairs. Yeah.
And then I don't know.
Everybody's room is upstairs.
I get it.
I get it, but at the same time, like,
it's just questions.
To have your, like, okay, get me these cleaning supplies, stay out of the basement, and then your stepbrother's, like,
also missing at the same time.
Yeah, like, to add that onto it, too. Like, she is a kid. I'm not blaming her. Don't take it as
no.
It's more of just, like...
I wonder where her mindset was.
I wonder where her mindset was, because she had to know her mom did something. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. You mean, like, of course, like, hindsight is always 20/20. But you mean, you're just in that moment. You just could never believe that your mom would ever do something like that.
And you're seeing how T manipulates things, like we were talking about, and how I'm sure she's like, everybody's against me. Nobody believes me. I would never do that. You know, like, she's talking to her daughter like that, probably. Yeah. And her daughter's like, okay.
Mom, I know you wouldn't.
You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not violent or whatever. Yep. But, 7 p.m. on July 28th, she does move her car, and it does ping off around the same location that a particle board was found with Gannon's blood on it. So I'm assuming she used this particle board to transport him around, and the particle board was found there. And then she returns the rental the next day. And please believe that that's when she stores his body there temporarily. And it is January in Colorado, so it's cold outside. Like, I'm sure being outside, you know. She shows up late to a police interview that day, which is the one she's talking about in that interview with the press. Her car is freshly washed, still wet.
Okay.
Like,
that's a weird thing to
my
do.
child's missing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go wash my car, be late to this interview. You know, it's fine. They can wait. No big deal.
No big
deal. They can wait.
I'm not worried about the child missing or anything.
No?
It's crazy. It was a very weird police interview. She stuffs tissues down her pants to avoid them getting DNA from her.
Okay.
Stop it.
I know.
I'm like, I'm just, what?
Yeah, when they could get DNA from so many things in her house, why is she worried about these tissues that she has there? It's just weird. She has weird.
So
weird.
Yeah, and she brings pages of notes in the interview with her story laid out right in front of her, which is weird.
Yeah, that's so weird. Like, you don't need to get your story straight
if you're telling the truth.
Yes, especially with something that was obviously, if you didn't do it, it's going to be traumatic.
Yeah.
Like, realizing your kid is gone and stuff, like, that's, my worry is not getting my story straight. It's telling the police as much information as I can.
Anything and everything.
Yeah. And this is when her stories really start to go crazy. She tells the police that she met a man named Eduardo, with a G, not even a real name. She meets him and asks if he could do some work in her house while her husband's out of town.
Oh yeah, because I'm gonna run to the side of the road and get a stranger to come to my house that's just me and my kids.
And I guess she claims that she gave him the garage code just to get in. So she gets home and he's just in her house. Stop it. So weird. Yeah.
Remember, I choose the bear. I don't choose random men on the side of the road.
Well, my husband's out of town.
Yeah, like, all right.
Yep. So she claims that this man held her hostage, raped her, and kidnapped Gannon. And she claims she was in and out of consciousness, doesn't really remember, but she does remember that Eduardo took a suitcase with him.
Okay, sure.
I went out of consciousness, but he left with that suitcase.
Yeah, she knows the suitcase is gone. And again, why not call 911 right after this happens.
Yeah,
like,
and then why clean up all of this mess and like
from somebody else?
Yeah, and you said that she took her son alive. Then why is there all this blood in the house?
Exactly.
Like, why is there all this blood? And why are you cleaning it? You know, dang, someone hurt my kid and they kidnapped him. I better clean up this mess they left behind.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Like, make it make sense.
So motion detectors in their house do show movement up and down the stairs. Probably her cleaning up this mess, going up and down the stairs. She denied a rape kit.
I mean, as like, you know, as a girl's girl, I can usually relate to that. So, like, you know what I mean? Women who go through, that's why there's a Me Too movement. That's why there's these things that we're doing, because you go through that, you know, it's your choice. You deal with it however you need to deal with it.
Yeah, how you process it and deal with it,
But as a mom, there's no way when you believe someone's out there and has your kid and they raped you, get that DNA out of me. Find my kid with this DNA. Whatever you need.
I would jump on any opportunity to have that person's DNA to hopefully find my child.
Yes.
Especially when they're still actively missing.
Yes.
She's too worried about them not having the tissues.
I know.
You can't have the tissues. Like,
sure as the heck I ain't taking any other DNA from me.
So again, she changes her story. She now claims that someone named Quincy Brown took Gannon when she went to Petco with him. Quincy Brown is a real person. He was on America's Most Wanted. So she just picks and chooses name. She made up a name. That didn't work. So now she remembers another name she saw somewhere.
I remember his name now.
And he's a different person, actually.
With a different race and...
It just makes no sense.
In a different location, too.
Yeah.
Because the first one was like, oh, I got him off the side of the road and he came to my house.
But no, Petco was her event.
Yeah, I came out, my kid was missing or whatever. I don't know exactly how she said it.
I think she claims that he stops her on the road.
Oh, okay.
And forces his way into this car.
Oh, okay.
Her stories never make any sense.
But for someone who keeps notes of the event,
why are your stories changing so much?
Why is things wild?
Yeah. Now this part's crazy. This was released in the affidavit. She paid for a fake polygraph. She goes to fakelieDetectorTest.com and
like anyone would.
Yeah, like anyone would.
You know, that's what I
do. The questions though were obviously what was concerning. She's wanting to be asked on this lie detector test, like, did you have anything to do with your stepson missing? She wants her answers to obviously be no. So it's like, obviously that's a lie if you're having to get a fake lie detector test.
Why else would you do it?
Yeah. And one of the things I was thinking about is lie detector tests aren't feasible in court, though, right?
No, they're not feasible.
I'm assuming she was like telling her husband, "I'll go get a lie detector test right now."
Yeah,
so believe me.
Yeah, but so they usually do. And then like detectives and police do like them. They like to, so
I'm sure they would administer that themselves.
Let her come in with like, I got this done by
I know, not a million years.
They would have been like, no, you're coming into our room with
yes,
our
yes.
Like, yes.
But that's what she wanted to do.
Yes.
She wanted to paint this picture of like, look, I'm doing everything, but she can't do everything because she's lying.
Yeah.
Yep. And obviously those lie detector test company people reported it to the police.
Oh, that's great.
Good for them.
Yep. Okay. So then in that clip of her with the press, you can see a moving van in the back. And this is right when she leaves with Harley to travel back to South Carolina where they're from. She does go through Florida, which is a key point to remember in this. And we're assuming that in the affidavit, I'm pretty sure it lays out that Gannon was probably in this van at this point. So, and I remember watching this live, like all these updates and stuff, and being like, we're never going to find his body. It could be anywhere in this country. She could have went anywhere. Like, they let her leave and travel literally across the whole country.
So, I was thinking about this. I don't want to put miles on my car to go get my husband from the airport, but I'm going to return that rental car and then drive around the country.
I know. Well, yeah, she returns her rental car and gets a moving van and drives it across the country.
Okay. So,
and I think that her reasoning for it was, I know that when you have a leased car, you only have so many miles that you can drive it because you have to return it eventually. Yeah. And maybe there's like a bigger fine than what it would have been for her to just rent a car. I don't know.
No, exactly. I think her reasoning was that she could get this blood on a rental car, a moving car,
Oh, yeah.
and then it's someone else's problem.
Yeah.
Like, they must have did it. He must have took them in that one.
Yeah.
But if it's in her car, then it's her. She did it.
Yeah. Okay, so now with the arrest. So she travels to South Carolina. March 2nd, she was arrested and she was extradited back to Colorado for her charges. And this is when she makes an attempt to escape. She got charged with attempting to escape. She attacked a guard in this van when they're driving her back to Colorado. I will cue clip now.
Stop it.
Stop.
Stop. She keeps threatening her.
Stop.
She keeps on threatening me, and I've stopped it. She keeps on.
All right, so there's that clip. She looks like she takes, like, I think it was a Monster can, like a full can of something, and hits the deputy or whatever it was with it, and she is held there. I think it was in Oklahoma, and charged with an attempt to escape.
That is wow. So who's in the back of the car with her?
It's like another police officer. They have like two driving, like two in the front and then one in the back with her.
That is insane.
Yeah.
How did she think in a million years she was going to be able to take on 3 guards to herself?
I don't know. I don't know if she thought she could like open up that door and just sprint or what.
What was her plan if she got out?
What's anybody's plan? They're just like, let me take this opportunity. I don't know.
Like, that is wild.
Yep.
The girl didn't even seem too hurt.
No.
She takes a whole smash to her head and she was
She's
like,
stop.
what's wrong with you?
Yep. And she says, she keeps threatening me. Like, she just seems so pissed off at this guard that's in the back with her. I don't know. So very soon after she was arrested, Gannon's body was found in Florida off of a side of a bridge by bridge inspectors, which this is like so coincidental that they even found him in the first place. I guess this bridge is inspected like every 7 years or something. And it happened to be right after she dropped his body. These guys are there inspecting this bridge. It's insane. It was like the luck, meant to be, like, it's just crazy.
He was supposed to be found.
Yeah.
She's supposed to.
So 2 men found this suitcase. It was in, like, on rocks that were kind of in water. And I watched them testify, or at least one of the guys testify, and they were like, why did you open the suitcase? And he was like, honestly, just pure curiosity. Like, we just saw it, we opened it. They said they saw football, socks, and just a lot of dark hair, and then they called the police. And a smell, obviously.
Yeah.
And they called the police.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen too many things of like that happening, of people finding like random suitcases and opening up heavy bodies. But it almost makes me feel like I would have to look.
I think I would look before I would call the police. I would have to get an idea that something was in there before I would call the police.
Because here's also, because I would never be like, oh, I'm just calling the police because there's a suitcase. Like, even if it's heavy, in my mind, like, it could be rocks. It could be, you know what I mean? Anything. That I'm like, my curiosity would kill me.
I think once I got the smell, I would stop.
Oh, yeah.
Once I opened it and smelled anything, I'd be like, okay.
I've heard it over and over that, like, a dead body smells like there's, like, nothing.
And that had to be
that's what it is.
It was a while, his body was found in a suitcase with the blanket from his bed wrapped around him. So that picture that she sent out of him in the bed, that blanket that's on him is what he was wrapped in the suitcase.
Did anyone notice that the blanket was missing?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. I mean, I'm sure Al was thinking of everything. It could have been a throw blanket. It could have been something he didn't even recognize.
That's true.
I'm not sure. But, and then from there, the charges were increased from to murder using blunt force trauma, sharp object, and gunshots. And I remember when this first happened, everybody was like, there's no way it's all 3. Like, maybe they're just covering all their bases. Maybe he was so badly decomposed that they don't know for sure. But everybody was like, there's no way it's all 3. Come to find out, it is all 3. It's so devastating. That's so sad. Yep.
Overkill on a child.
I know. All of that on a sweet little boy breaks my heart.
Yeah, and it definitely, like, gives you that sense of, like, okay, you're frustrated, you make a snap decision, and you hurt your kid. You aren't making a snap decision and doing all 3.
No.
Like, maybe, you may have blunt force traumatized them, but everything after that, that is not just in the moment.
No,
like,
it was thought out after that. So it's so, I put in here, I'm not going to go over all the trial delays that happened because this happened in January of 2020. The trial happened in April of last year, 2023. She pushed back this trial so many times. Her lawyer, she switched lawyers. She decided to represent herself, I think, at one point, and then she got new lawyers, and then they said that they didn't have, like, the trial was approaching finally, and we're like, it's about to happen, and then they come out with a thing that, like, they need more time. It was pushed back for years. I thought it would never happen. There was a lot of delays.
Yeah.
The trial started April of 2023. She ended up not denying anything. She tries to do the insanity defense because she has no defense. That's her only defense she could possibly do. But she never openly, she doesn't take the stand. She doesn't ever talk about anything that happened. She
Her
just claims
attorneys
insanity.
are just all they could come up with.
Yep. It is revealed that Gannon suffered 18 stab wounds while he was still alive. A fractured skull.
18 stab wounds while he's alive.
Yep. To his hands, to his head, to his back.
That seems like, especially when you say hands,
It's
that seems like torture. That, like,
I think the hands is.
It could be self-defense.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense.
Yep, I think he was putting his hands up and it just.
Why is she stabbing his head?
And just to think that clip we listened to of him crying, this probably happened soon after that. Like, him so upset like that, and then that happens to him.
Yeah, she probably, like,
someone he loved and trusted.
It breaks my heart so bad. Also, he had a gunshot wound to his jaw, like on the side of his face, and 2 in his pillow. His pillow, I believe, was also in the suitcase, and they had 2 holes in it. So she shot 3 times, hit him 1 time.
It's just so wild. Like, to think about that, like, okay, blunt force trauma can be of various different things. But then to get a knife and then attack him with a knife and then to leave and go get a gun and then come back with, like, that's all
pure psychopathic.
Yes, that is not in the moment. That is
premeditated.
Can, I'm not saying it could happen to anybody because I would never hit my kids enough to fracture their skull. But the fact that, like you said, the fact that she went and grabbed a knife and then stabbed him 18 times.
Yeah.
This little boy who's already injured. It's
and
heartbreaking.
Then to leave again and go get a gun, like, obviously he's hurt. It's so sad.
It is. So there was a lot of people that testified. It starts with Al, and it's heartbreaking, which I do want to kind of insert some clips. They play a lot of phone calls because very quickly after police get involved, they start recording the phone calls between Al and T. Like, he is in on this, obviously. And they're crazy. You can just really hear how deranged she is. Oh, it's sped up. Sorry, guys.
I took the cover. There was a whole bunch of the cover that was inside that little tan thing, and Gannon had on or whatever, and I just jumped on him. I don't know if that was the right thing to do.
She said he was on fire, and I just jumped on him. Like, he was sitting there on a couch. There was a fire.
And kept jumping on it, and, like, Gannon was right in one of the covers. So Gannon did burn his arms. It wasn't bad. It was like a... It's like, you get a little bit of oil on it, and it's just like underneath the skin, but as long as y'all peel it, it's fine.
Yeah, but hey, TC, which arm was it? Both arms, or like this inside? I mean, but like, how was it? So, cause I remember we talked about that before a little bit, but we never got it.
I feel like it was across the arms. Like, I feel like it was, and I told the investigators this. I said, and I don't want to skip to this part, miss this part. Remind me that. I say this later. I told the investigators later that I said, I thought we should have looked a little more in depth at his arm.
What if he's hurt? Yeah.
Because it could have been, like, he wasn't complaining like, oh, it's hurting. He wasn't saying anything along those lines, but I should have looked a little bit more.
So, is it ever said, is he burnt when they found him? Did they find burn marks on him?
Decomposed. His skin was too decomposed to tell.
Pissed at him. She has the audacity to pull out some righteous indignation. Here, I'll show you. Gannon bleeds all the time.
Right.
Gannon has huge nosebleeds. Did you tell him the nosebleeds from your truck is from Gannon?
When did he have a nosebleed in my truck?
Oh my God, don't even play. It's been there since Alaska.
They lived in Alaska for a while.
Truck, you have his hands had blood marks on it for like a year and something ago.
Maybe. I'm not doubting you. I don't know. I just don't remember that, but that might have happened. I know he has had a nosebleed once in a while. I don't remember that in Alaska.
Nosebleeds are like in Colorado. They're at least once every week or two.
She's so pissed.
Every week or two.
She's so defensive is what it is.
This is where I get angry. Like, people come up here and talk all this shit and they don't even know him. She says this is what
they play. It was like 5 hours in the court of these videos.
Now I gotta tell them to go check out the table and see if there's any blood or any of your.
You knew that. They had already asked that.
Okay, but that's the first I heard of it. You see what I'm saying?
You never would talk to me. You literally just sat here in a conversation and asked me, did I kill our child?
Yes, I did because because if you say no, then I can't. I'll stop thinking that you did it. Okay. That's horrible. I don't know what to think. My son's blood. You're telling me his blood's all over the walls, and now you're telling me the Mexican guy that had the gun to your head or whatever took him away, and he knows him, and he could be anywhere. Hold on. Gun. So where did you get that piece from? That was where that. So now you got me twisting all your stories up because that was from the first time you told me the rape story.
Good for him.
Gun to your head.
Letitia Stauch is who Casey
Anthony wanted to be when she grew up. And remember that Casey Anthony, in the midst of all her lies and in the midst of her multiple changing stories, she would always start talking about specific people that she knew that Kaylee was with, or that she was hanging out with Kaylee, and people she worked at Universal Studios with, things like that, when she wasn't actually working at Universal Studios any longer. And one of those people was called Juliette Lewis, and we always made fun of Casey
I just remember what this is.
She had made one of her fake people have the name of a real person, but not just a real person, a real famous person who kind of everybody knows about. Like, you guys know about Juliette Lewis, right? If you don't know about Juliette Lewis, it's probably because you're very young. But here's somebody you might know about. Somebody that Letitia used not for the name of a random person in one of her random stories, but a name for herself. One of her aliases. One of her on-record aliases was Taylor Swift.
One of her on-record aliases. She tells these psychiatrists that she's talking to, yeah, now I'm Taylor Swift. I had to record that part. I thought it was so funny. Like, what? Yep.
I was sitting here because I was like, I'm going to leave this recording so, like, we have, like, some reactions that's actually watching it. But
I know. As soon as I saw her start talking about that celebrity, I was like, that's why I recorded this clip. Yes.
She is the reason people don't believe multiple personality is actually a thing.
Right.
Like, she is the person that is giving that disorder a stigma.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Like,
yep. Why are these crazy people bringing Taylor Swift into this? I feel so bad for poor Taylor.
About that.
I wonder.
Probably not. She's like, I wonder if she watches true crime.
She does watch true crime, so maybe.
Maybe she'll watch it. Because I was in the trial. They talked about it.
I'm sure she has I don't know.
Poor Taylor.
Yeah.
She deserves better than these crazy people keep bringing her up and quoting her and trying to be her.
Yep. So the knife has never been found. The shells from the shotgun, or not the shotgun, it's a handgun, have never been found. If she's really crazy, I put in here, if she's really crazy, then why did she try to cover everything up?
Yeah.
If you had a moment of switching personalities, when you came to, why didn't you do something other than everything she did?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Harley was in the U-Haul truck that drove to Florida, South Carolina.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And she brought her daughter with her.
Yeah. Well, they were moving back across the country. And I guess, though, what she did was there is record of her checking into a hotel right by where Gannon's body was found and then leaving that hotel without... Harley, when she testifies, says that she stayed in the hotel. Her mom left that night.
Yeah.
I think she left, dumped his body, and came back. I mean, that's what makes sense.
But she was in there and his body was in there.
Letitia, like, they do talk about how horrible her childhood was. She says she was abused in every way by the multiple stepdads she had throughout her life, but no names were ever given of who these stepdads were.
Yeah,
it could be true. It could be not true. Like,
I don't believe
there's people who are abused in their life that don't go on to kill people.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
I just don't believe a word she says.
Yeah,
exactly.
She could have been abused and stuff like that. And there is a lot of serial killers out there that were abused, and that is like something. But at the same time, like, it doesn't make it right.
No.
Like, nothing. Like,
no, and it's just like Casey Anthony.
Yep,
she
exactly.
says her dad molested her and her daughter.
Kept
and, like,
quiet for years, and then came out and said all that.
Yep.
Like, what?
Yeah.
They are two peas in a pod.
So her defense was trying to prove that she does have DID, multiple personalities. They didn't have many witnesses, though. Obviously, it starts out with the prosecution. They were the majority of the trial. It went on for like 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
They had so many witnesses. All these detectives, all these forensic people, family members, so many different people.
Well, who is she going to get? Who is her attorney going to get?
Literally, I think they had one witness. I think it was their psychiatrist that they hired for her.
I mean, they have nothing.
Yep.
What did that psychiatrist say when he went on stand?
So it was a woman, and she just says that she does show signs of DID. Like, I watched it, but.
Okay.
So, still with the prosecution, though, Al took the stand. We talked about that. After they play all these clips, it took forever to play all these clips of the conversations, but I do think it's important to the jury to hear that, because she never switches personalities in these calls, though.
No,
ever.
Period. Not her interviews, nothing.
Yeah.
She is the same narcissistic woman that she is in her searches, that she is in her interviews, that she is in her phone calls.
Yep.
So, like, DID, essentially what it causes is you're going through so much trauma that your brain will start to split, like a fracture, essentially, of this person deals with this, and this person deals with this, and this person deals with this. And so that makes no sense of, like you said, like, if she was going through all of this, like, there would have been a person that she would have been identifying with that would have been, like, handling it and, like, whatever. Like, no, like, you don't, like, when you're on the phone, like, and you're being overwhelmed, that's usually when you see a switch happen, is like something is overwhelming.
Yeah, she's sitting there screaming at her husband on the phone, but like, never changes up who she is.
You would have been able to tell, because, like, a lot of times that people that do actually have this, like, it's not just their, like, voice, it's their whole demeanor, their voice, their, the pitch of everything, the way they handle themselves, like, they are physically a different person from everything.
Yeah.
Like, there's no just, kind of, like...
No, it's like a full switch.
Yes, it's a full switch.
Yep. So Al describes a lot of fights that they've had about moving for the military, the kids. She was very manipulative. She told Al many different stories. He explains all these stories the best he can. When they lived in Alaska, there was an incident where we're assuming now that she was lying, but she says that a sergeant in the military essayed her, and that's why they got moved to Colorado, but she always hated Alaska. She never wanted to move to Alaska, and then that happens when they're there and they get moved.
Damn.
Yep. She also has lied about a pregnancy to Al before, so she lies to get what she wants all the time.
So was Al, in hindsight, I'm not going to blame him at all and stuff, does he ever say in hindsight that she did, like, maybe he ignored this, didn't think much of it, ignored this piece, and it, like, you mean, did she ever show aggressive behaviors towards Gannon or anything?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a lot of manipulativeness, a lot of what he thought was just...
So I think it's, like, kind of back what we talked about. It sounds like that force, like, it was out of anger and this, and it's not okay. That's awful. That's terrible. She should go to prison for even that, but she then panicked and did everything she did.
Yep.
Wild.
Yeah. And
I can't even, but then she, like...
I don't know, like, okay, God forbid something happened and I really hurt my kid. I would be panicking in the sense of, I need to figure out how to
make them better.
Her. Yes, fix her. Not, I need to figure out how to kill her so she can't talk.
Yeah, like, it's insane.
That, and, like, what was it, 18 times that she
I
stabbed
think
him?
so, yeah.
Yeah, like, even that, like, there's no way, like, I really hurt my kid and then I'm going to continue to hurt them and they're defensive and, like, the whole thing of it, like, it doesn't feel like, I don't know.
You have to be psychotic to go through with it that far.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I wouldn't call her psychotic if it was just that blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
I would say she has some rage issues. She
should not ever be around kids again.
She should not be around kids, but I wouldn't call her psychotic because of that. It's her continuing everything else that she does afterwards.
Continues, yeah.
Yep. Al also claims that she has told him that Gannon has tried to attack her with a knife before. Gannon has ran at her with a knife. But Al says on the stand he doesn't believe Gannon would ever do that. And they put Gannon in therapy for this. This happened back in 2019, the year before. So he stayed with her. He was like, I can't believe my son would do that. But I think a part of him was always like, it's not like him. Yeah.
And kids who are like that, the parents know that they're like this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Not just behavior that happens.
They're out of
town.
Yeah, I have never ever. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've seen aggressive kids many times in the different workouts I've done and different schools I've been at and things like that. And it's never been a surprise he's aggressive. It's
a worked up, built up
thing.
And you know
that
about
usually
it.
also starts young.
Starts young.
It's not, I'm 11, 10, or 11, whatever.
And I'm now aggressive.
Yes, and I'm now aggressive. Like that. That usually starts happening. A kid will switch aggression when something is happening.
Yes, exactly.
When they're witnessing something or something's happening to them is when things like
that. But no, it probably didn't happen. It was just her way to get him into therapy or something. Who knows?
Try to maybe make Al stay home more. I don't think she wanted anything to do with raising these kids while he was gone.
I mean, her Google searches tell that.
Mm-hmm. So also when Al's on the stand, he talks about the last time he said goodbye to Gannon, and he breaks down crying. It's so heartbreaking. He says like, bye, buddy, and Gannon's just like, bye, I love you. I'm going to go play my game now. Runs down the stairs and plays this game. And it's like 2 days before he was murdered. So heartbreaking. In those clips also, she tells Al that if they grant her immunity, then she'll help. This is towards the end of those clips. After all her stories, she's like, they grant me immunity, I'll tell you the real story of who took Gannon. Like, she's still trying to make up another story, but she's probably trying to buy time and trying to get herself protected.
No.
Nobody does that.
No one does that. My kid's missing. I'm giving them all the... I'm not. Give me immunity. That immunity means you did something wrong.
Yep.
Yep. So she was also reprimanded one time during the trial for flipping people off. She's sitting there like this a bunch of times during the trial, like, and the next day, I guess the prosecutors had gone to the judge and showed pictures of it. And in the court, you can see him say, we saw this, like, you have a privilege right now sitting here in a wheeling chair that turns around, your hands aren't shackled, and we can make that happen real quick if you're going to keep it up. Like, he calls her out on it.
Good for him. Because what?
Yep.
This is a trial again for your kid. And
that you obviously brutally murdered.
You don't even have respect at this trial?
And you're trying to claim that it was during a psychotic break or whatever she's trying to claim that this is when it happened. Wouldn't you still have sympathy? Why are you flipping off people during the trial? It's crazy. So Harley did testify. She says that she hasn't seen her mom since she was arrested in South Carolina. And she revealed that she just found out the week before the trial that her biological dad, Harley's biological dad, died from an overdose and not a car wreck. She had been told her whole life from her mom that he died in a car wreck, which it's like, that doesn't even make it better. That's still a brutal way to die.
Yeah.
It's like she just didn't want her daughter to feel like he was a drug addict or he died from OD, like just trying to protect her like image or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess my best thing is like she didn't want her daughter thinking that she would date a drug addict. Maybe. Like, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That's weird.
But
it definitely wasn't about protecting her daughter.
No, it was about, I don't know,
saving
maybe she was trying to convince both of like herself and Harley that it was not an OD. Like, he's not a drug addict.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. She also said that her mom told her that Gannon started a fire and that she had to jump on him to put out the fire. And when Harley got home from work, that Gannon was just asleep. She said that her mom was being weird the whole time, but it's her mom. She never questioned her. And she says that she didn't smell anything in the movie. And her testimony didn't really give like a ton of information. We were really hoping for like something crazy, but she didn't really give any like crazy testimony. So the defense ended when they cross-examined her. They ended by asking her if she loves her mother, and she just sobbed, and that was the end. It was just silent. She didn't answer. It was so sad. And Letitia looked cold the whole time, just sat there. Obviously, the defense and the prosecution both had their own psychiatrist witnesses with different opinions.
Yeah.
T fakes multiple personalities, and the defense rested very quick. They just had their one witness. Closing statements were made on a Friday after about 4 weeks, and then deliberations started. And then that Monday, we got the verdict, guilty on all charges, very quick. They probably just went on evidence and was like, she's guilty.
She's guilty.
Like, if I was in that, we'd literally have walk in and be like, everyone thinks she's guilty, right? We're not.
Are we all on the same page here?
Yeah.
Please don't make me sit here
and like argue with you about this because she's guilty.
After she was found guilty on all charges, Landon and Al gave very heartbreaking victim impact statements. It was so sad. The judge's statements were so good, though. He says that the facts in this case are the most horrific he has ever seen, and he sentenced her to life in prison with no possibility of parole.
Good.
So, that is that.
Is she still maintaining her innocence today?
I mean, her innocence in the way that
She refuses to say she did it.
I mean, I think she is claiming she did it, but it's just
Okay.
her DID.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
the
that's
DID,
right.
yes.
DID.
She's still claiming
But
she doesn't
so-
remember anything that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That
That's
is
sad.
It's just sad.
It's heartbreaking.
A poor baby.
Yeah. So that was that case. That is like my true crime case that if I talk about true crime, that's probably the one that comes up.
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking and
Yeah, it's just,
She gives stepmoms that bad name.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching.
We'll see you next week.
We'll be back with another case next week.